The New York Islanders beat the Vegas Golden Knights 2-1 behind strong goaltending by Ilya Sorokin. We'll break down our keys to the victory. Plus, we'll talk about one subtle thing the Islanders are doing differently during this recent surge that's made a big difference on the ice. We've got all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Gil Maritn. I've been covering the Islanders for nearly 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars, which covers the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 all the way to the modern era. Great to talk a little Islanders hockey with you, especially after a 2-1 win, a hard-fought 2-1 win over the Vegas Golden Knights. And I think the Islanders, first of all, needed this win. Emotionally speaking, your 7-game win streak ended on Sunday. You found out on Monday that Matthew Barzal, arguably your most dynamic offensive player, is out indefinitely, possibly even for the rest of the season. We're waiting to hear about that. But you're now back home facing one of the better teams in the league. Yes, they're kind of struggling a little bit right now, but, a team that is bigger, faster, more skilled than the Islanders. And the Islanders did what they needed to do to get the 2-1 victory. And the obvious thing that the Islanders did, and I think it goes without saying, that Ilya Sorokin, who was the NHL's #1 star of the week last week, has continued to play outstanding hockey. 33 saves on 34 shots in a game in which the Islanders were outshot 34-14. That's almost a 3-1 margin. And, well, it's a solid 2.5-1 margin. And yet the Brandon Saad goal was the only goal that the Islanders allowed in this game. Sorokin just getting the job done. And the Islanders overall doing a strong job of not allowing second and third opportunities and making sure that Ilya Sorokin could see the puck. And if he's going to see the puck, the odds are pretty darn good that he's going to stop the puck, and that is exactly what he did. Slow start for the Islanders. No Scott Mayfield. Martin was the healthy scratch. Slow start. In fact, the Islanders, in the first period, their forwards had a grand total of 1 shot on goal. But here's the thing, and I think this is wise under the circumstances. The Islanders are kind of, they played a more conservative kind of a game, but made those limited shots on goal count. And, the Bo Horvat goal was absolutely a beautiful, beautiful play. Adam Pelech made a great pass, and ironically enough, Pelech gets the primary assist, but because he made that pass in center ice and then went off for a change, he doesn't even get a +1. He was on the bench by the time Horvat scored. But for Horvat, he just put on a really good burst, beat the defenseman, got in front of the net, and beat Samsonov for the game's first goal. And that gave the Islanders a lot of momentum. Yes, they had 4 shots on goal in the first period, only 4 shots on goal in the second period. Not exactly, a lot of pressure, but they were able to get the job done when it mattered most. And, you're without your most dynamic skater and best player offensively, at least at handling the puck among the forwards. And yet they managed to find a way to overcome this. Brock Nelson getting the game-winning goal in the third period midway through, and the Islanders just took care of business. And, Casey Cizikas, sort of an unsung hero, 7 hits in this game to pace the Islanders. And how about Alexander Romanov? There are exactly 2 Islanders defensemen in the lineup right now out of 6 who started on this team opening night. It's Pelech and Romanov. And when the other guys are all out injured, you need the experienced guys to step up. Well, Pelech now has 5 assists in his last 7 games. He had 3 shots on goal, which, by the way, led all Islanders players. He blocked 2 shots. He had 2 hits. He played 25 minutes and 19 seconds. And then there's Alexander Romanov. Also had an assist. Was a +2. 4 block shots. 28 minutes, 51 seconds. He has been getting a lot of ice time. And again, clearly, the Islanders, Patrick Roy, waiting for Scott Mayfield to come back because they are not trusting Dennis Cholowski all that much. He was only on ice for 7 minutes and 25 seconds. That was less than the fourth line forwards all got in this game. And how about Mark Gatcomb, who had, again, 4 hits in just 8.5 minutes? He played more ice time than both Pierre Engvall and Kyle McLean in this game. Again, not showing up a lot in the box score. Officially didn't have a shot on goal, although he did have a lot of chances, and his shots were either blocked or wide. But making a difference with his physicality, making a difference with the way he's approaching this game, and giving some juice to a fourth line that just didn't have a lot of juice. And that is important, and it all sets up Ilya Sorokin to continue to be in the zone. And what was the big deal for Sorokin? He is way more confident now than he was in the first half of the year. He is, whether it's because his back is feeling better, or the defensemen in front of him are more or less performing better. He is just playing the angles better, seeing the puck, anticipating well. There were times in the first half of the year that Sorokin looked tentative, that he wasn't coming out to play the angles, and he wasn't really just feeling on top of his game. Right now, he is on top of his game. And think about this. The Vegas Golden Knights, one of the better teams in the league, Jack Eichel, Mark Stone. We went through all the list every day. As you know, we talked about how good this lineup is for Vegas. In the 2 games that the Islanders played against the Vegas Golden Knights this season, the New York Islanders gave up a total of 1 goal. One. They shut him out the first time 4-0. They beat him 2-1 last night at home. This is, again, what this team is capable of if all of the stars align and, everything works. The Islanders did a good job of staying out of the penalty box. Each team had a grand total of 1 power play. So the penalty kill did its job. The power play didn't do much of anything in the 1 chance they had. But again, you stay out of the box. That is a great strategy for the New York Islanders. They need to do that because they are a better 5-on-5 team than they are on special teams, even with the improved penalty kill as of late. So the Islanders are doing a lot of the little things they need to do to win games 2-1 instead of losing them 4-2 with an empty net goal at the end because you couldn't hold the lead. We have seen this team hold leads much, much better over the last 10 games or so, 12 games. And that is yet another reason for this team's recent success. Hero and GOAT of the game. Hero of the game, I think, is easy. It's got to be Ilya Sorokin. Just really played outstanding. I mean, Romanov gets consideration. Nelson can get some consideration, but I got to give it to Ilya Sorokin first and foremost for the strong game that he played. And, you know, if I'm going GOAT of the game, it's got to be the slow start. Very often, you start off a game where you don't have any shots in the first 7, 8, 9 minutes of a game. You could find yourself behind 1-0, 2-0 right away. Well, they didn't. And again, the Islanders gotta be more consistent. There are going to be times when you're going to be outplayed, but you got to be a little more consistent. And one other shout out on the ice, Tony DeAngelo. He had an assist. He was a +2. And he was on the ice for 27 and a half minutes, 27:34 to be exact. To say he's been contributing is an understatement. He has been a solid pickup. And again, I just hope he continues to be a good teammate and good off the ice and plays well on the ice because, boy, oh boy, he has helped this New York Islanders team. We have got a lot more to get to on today's show. We'll talk about a subtle difference that I think has had a big impact on the Islanders in the last 10, 12 games. We're going to talk about that. We'll have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, a Massachusetts native who went to BU, played 1.5 seasons for the Islanders in the late 90s, and is now a current NHL head coach. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all this and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you could adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from the opening kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. So I wanted to discuss one little subtle thing that the New York Islanders have done differently over the last 10 to 12 games that has just made a big impact on this team. And everydayers, I think I've sort of talked a little bit about this, but I want to go in and dig a little deeper. With the exception of the 6 goals that the Islanders gave up against Florida, and one of them was an empty netter, the Islanders during this recent run have given up 1 goal, 2 goals, no goals, 2 goals. It's either it's 2 goals or less during that entire 7-game winning streak. And you look at it on paper and you say to yourself, okay, they're without so many guys right now. How are they able to get this done? I mean, there's no Scott Mayfield right now. He's day to day. There's no Mike Riley. There's no Noah Dobson. There's no Ryan Pollock. You're without both of your backup goalies in Semyon Varlamov and Marcus Hogberg. Now you're without Matthew Barzal. Your defense core is down to two guys, like I said in the first segment, who have started the season in your top six. And I think this ties in with something that everydayers may recall that I have been talking about in different ways for this team. When you're struggling, when there are issues, keep it simple. The KISS theory, keep it simple, stupid. The fact that the New York Islanders right now have a defense core that features Tony DeAngelo, who has played, 4 or 5 games for the Islanders, Scott Perunovich, who has played 3, Dennis Cholowski, who is an AHL veteran, not a prospect anymore, really, at this point in his career, and Adam Boqvist, who has now played, 3 games for the Islanders, maybe. You got guys who are not familiar with each other, who are not familiar with the system, who are not familiar with the forwards and even how the goalie will leave them the puck if he gets it behind the net or in front of the net. It's a lot of adjustment. But what these new defensemen, the DeAngelos, the Perunoviches, the Boqvists, the Cholowskis when he's been out there, what they have done is keep things simple and make the simple, direct play to get the puck out of the Islanders' zone and transition from defense to offense. And it makes a huge impact. Why? If you're stuck in your own zone for 35, 45, 60, 90 seconds or more, your guys get tired. They chase. They lose track of guys they can't keep up. They take penalties, and then you're shorthanded. They turn the puck over. They give up rebounds. They lose 50-50 puck battles. You're on your heels in every aspect of the game. And look, Noah Dobson has been this year. He has struggled defensively, and I'm being maybe a little kind by just saying he has struggled defensively and struggled to clear the puck out of his own zone. The guys who have been put into the lineup by keeping it simple, and I think also part of it is you're new to this team. You want to prove to your teammates and to the coaches that you're reliable and you can get the job done. As a result of all of these factors, plus I think these guys are just a little smarter with the puck than your Noah Dobsons and maybe at times your Ryan Pollocks. Everybody has had to simplify, and it's actually worked better. And remember, in the first segment, I said, hey, Ilya Sorokin is seeing the puck. Yeah, he's seeing the puck, and therefore he can make more saves. That is exactly what you need from your defense and from your goalie. Think about the goal that the Islanders scored, the Bo Horvat goal last night against Vegas. They got the puck out of the zone, and then once the puck is out of the zone, that gave Adam Pelech time and space to see Bo Horvat having that opportunity to make that hard but accurate pass that set Horvat into the zone with speed and momentum and allowed him to beat the defenseman and go in and get that shot that essentially became a breakaway because that puck was not in the zone for a long time. There was time and space. They kept it simple, and that allows your players to get an opportunity to make a solid pass and play like that. This team, with the new defenseman that Lou Lamoriello has brought in, and I give him credit for the way he put these three guys not only together, but got them, into the lineup and didn't give up much. I mean, you gave up a conditional 5th-round pick and then 2 guys who had to pass through waivers, and that's it. Keeping it simple has worked for the New York Islanders defense core, and it is something that even as they get more comfortable, even as they get to know the system better and each other better, and even as they're more comfortable being, after showing Patrick Waugh and the coaching staff, hey, this is what we're capable of doing, this is what we do, keep us in the lineup, you got to continue to do those little simple things, chip the puck out, make the shorter pass, get the puck out of the zone, skate it into the neutral zone, and then transition to the attack. This is working for the New York Islanders. It ain't pretty all the time. It's not glamorous. It's not always exciting, but it's effective. And I would rather win boring than lose pretty. And the New York Islanders are getting the job done in a much better way as a result of these changes. It's subtle, but it's important and effective. And the fact that this team has won now 8 of its last 9 games, it is partially due to these changes. All right, more to get to on today's show. We have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Game Time Picks for a while, and here's why I love it. The curated deals make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through thousands of options. I recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, and I couldn't believe the value. It was a steal. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from our hosts, Steele and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Time now for our weekly farm report where we discuss all things Bridgeport Islanders. And it wasn't an easy week for Bridgeport. I know that is a familiar refrain this year, but they played 3 games and did not win any of them. Started last Wednesday, a 9-2 loss to the Phantoms. Just a tough one is Lehigh Valley, a team that is only a few games over 500, just dominated on Bridgeport's home ice. Zadie Wisdom with a hat trick for the Phantoms, and it just was not a strong game for the New York Islanders. Chris Terry did score one of the 2 Islander goals. He now is 5th all-time on Bridgeport's goals in a career with 70. He is 1 behind Jeff Tambellini, who is in fourth place. Liam Foudy got the other goal, who now has a point in 6 straight games, but overall just a very, very poor showing by the Bridgeport Islanders. Then they end up with a 5-4 loss to the Hershey Bears on Friday. This one just did not work. It's a road game. Sam Bolduc had 3 assists to tie his career high, a goal and an assist for Brian Pino, 2 assists for Chris Terry, but Henrik Tikkanen giving up 5 goals in 28 shots faced, and the Islanders fall 5-4. Then Saturday, a rematch with Hershey, and the same result, a 5-4 defeat. A goal and an assist for Isaiah George after he was returned to Bridgeport, but it was not enough. George, Bolduc, Terry, and Eetu Liukas got the goal, and it's a 4-game losing streak for Bridgeport as they entered the All-Star break in the AHL. Chris Terry still head and shoulders above anyone else with 40 points. Brian Pino and Liam Foudy are 10 points behind him. Pino leads the team with 18 goals. Foudy has 16. Terry has 14. Sam Bolduc now 5 goals, 23 points in 41 games. That leads all defensemen. But overall, this team continues to struggle, and it's been discouraging. Jakub Skarek now up with the Islanders, big team. He has a 3.22 goals against average and an 8.95 save percentage, 5.11-1 on the year. When you consider the weakness overall of the team in front of him, well, Skarek, not as bad as maybe his numbers appear. Bridgeport has 24 points through 44 games. They are 17 points out of 7th place in the Atlantic Division, and their .273 point percentage is by far the weakest in the American Hockey League right now. So gotta hope that things can start turning around for Bridgeport, but not looking good. 2 games coming up this weekend for the Bridgeport Islanders. Friday, they are on the road against Wilkes-Barre Scranton. That's a 7:05 Eastern Time start. And then Saturday, back home against the Charlotte Checkers. That is a 7 o'clock Eastern Time start. Those are the 2 games this weekend. But again, Bridgeport just continues to struggle. If you want to see some of the Islanders prospects playing before they reach the island, you can head on up to Bridgeport and catch one of these games, or you could watch them on AHL TV. Don't forget, we do our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders every Wednesday during the AHL season. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day, and Tuesday was the 56th birthday of former Islanders winger Joe Sacco, the Medford, Massachusetts native, a 4th-round pick of the Maple Leafs back in 1987, 6'1", 195 pounds, 3 years at BU, made his NHL debut with Toronto in 1990-91, later played for the Anaheim Ducks, and then joined the Islanders late in the 97-98 season, played 25 games, had 3 goals, 6 points, and 10 penalty minutes. Started the 98-99 season on the island, had 3 goals in 73 games, and then went to Washington for the following year and closed out his career playing for the Flyers in 2002-2003. Sacco, more or less a checking forward, played in 738 career NHL games, 94 goals, 213 points, 421 penalty minutes, add 2 goals in 26 playoff games. His best game as an Islander, how about October 27th, 1998, Islanders hosting the LA Kings at the Old Barn, the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Manny Legacy, the goalie for LA, Tommy Salo in between the pipes for the Islanders. And this was a goaltender's duel. It was scoreless after one, scoreless after two. And 2 minutes and 1 second into the third, Kevin Miller sets up Joe Sacco, our Islanders' birthday of the day. For the only goal of the game, Tommy Salo made it stand up. He had a 20-save shutout. But for Joe Sacco, he had a goal. He was a +1. He scored the game winner, and he had 3 shots on goal in 19 minutes and 31 seconds of action. Sacco, of course, right now, the head coach of the Boston Bruins, taking over midseason into that position. So Joe Sacco is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We will hopefully get a little more of an injury update on Scott Mayfield when he may be available. And we'll talk about a little bit more about the last couple of games before the Four Nations tournament gets underway, and we'll have a couple of weeks in between games. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Maritn, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Until tomorrow, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.